Welcome to my shed. I got this shed when I was 40 as part of a midlife crisis that I was having, but I've decided to put it to good use now and do this Bible overview. We're going to go through the whole Bible in 24 sessions. We're going to talk about all 66 books. We're going to talk about the big story that the Bible tells us and how we find our place in it. And this book is not just another book that was written a couple of thousand years ago. For me, this is something where it's a place where I meet God. It's a place where I encounter Jesus. It's a chance for me to learn about myself, to learn about God, to learn about how I should live in this world. It's like when you read the Chronicles of Narnia, and it's like opening that wardrobe door to go through to another world, and in that world it's like anything's possible, and you go on these journeys and you meet interesting people and you discover things about yourself and about life, and so I hope that as we go through these 66 books together, that you will find yourself there, that you will discover things about God and about yourself and about the world that will be useful. The Bible starts in the beginning and with a book called Genesis, and it's useful to think about the Bible as a big cathedral. So if you look at a cathedral, it's something that has been built a long time ago, usually, but there are different sections to that cathedral that have been built at different points in history. But today it stands as one building, and it's similar with the Bible. It's something that has been constructed over many years, 1500 years altogether. That's that kind of period, and it was the last bits were written about 2000 years ago. But it stands now as one. And when you come to a cathedral, you come to an entrance, and usually entrance is this kind of magnificent, awe-inspiring thing that as soon as you go to it, you kind of look up and you go, wow, look at how big it is, look at all these carvings that are near it, look at this incredible door that I'm going through. And Genesis is like the entrance to that cathedral. So Genesis provides us with the foundations for upon which the teachings of the Bible are built. It provides us with a doorway that sets the big themes for the rest of the cathedral, if you like, and it's been built and added to it over time, over those 1500 years. But it stands for us now as one book that speaks to us about God and about ourselves and about the world, and so. If the Bible does that for us, and if Genesis stands as that entrance, then Genesis 1 and 2 are like the entrance to the rest of Genesis. And so Genesis 1 and 2 provide us with a glimpse of what is to come for the rest of the time. And it's this ancient document, it's unexpected, it's surprising, it's magnificent, it's awe-inspiring. It makes us look up like that and go, wow, look at that, that's amazing. And again, it tells us who God is, it tells us why creation exists, and it tells us what role we as humans have got to play in all of that. And when you get into chapter 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Some people call this the poem of creation because it's a beautiful piece of writing. It certainly has like a pattern and a rhythm to it. It's like a kind of poetic prose that's designed. It's like a liturgical thing. It's designed so that you can remember it. It's got a regular rhythm to it, so it will be easy to memorize. And Genesis 1 teaches us that there was a beginning, that what the stuff that we see now, and as we travel around the world and as we look at the stars, all of it had a beginning. It's not eternal. It came from somewhere or someone. And the Bible starts with what I call an explosion of goodness. Scientists talk about the Big Bang, and the Bible has this Big Bang of goodness, and it explodes into this goodness, and God creates all these things, and God speaks, and God says, let there be light, let there be this, let there be that. And after each one, he says, he sees that it was good, and it was good, and it was good, and it was good. And he looks at his creation and he enjoys this process of creating. And into the creation at the very start is goodness. And so this creation narrative, it stands as like a way of correcting other stories of creation that were around at the time. Stories that told people that humans were an accident or an afterthought. Stories that told them that the creation was evil, that it was the result of wars between the gods. But no, the creation, according to the Bible, was a good thing that God spoke, that God chose to give to human beings. And so it teaches us that it was created by a good God, that the creation isn't evil, and that therefore we should look after this we should look after the stuff that God has made. We're not just citizens of heaven passing through, but actually this is God's gift to us, and he will renew it one day. He's created us to be wise stewards of his creation. So humans are not an afterthought, but they're the very pinnacle of the creation. So after all these things God creates that are good, then he creates the humans, and then he looks and he says, it's very good. So it becomes very good when humans are added to the mix. That means that we are the crown of God's creation, and that comes with responsibilities. It doesn't mean we can do what we like to the world. It means that we're called to be wise stewards of the creation that God has made. It means we have this kind of priestly role, and near the end of the chapter, you can read in Genesis 1:26 that God says, let us make man in our image, in our likeness. Let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air. And then in verse 27 it says, God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And this is one of the most important phrases, Genesis 1:27, one of the most important phrases in the whole of the Bible. Genesis 1 is set out like the building of a temple. It's being prepared as a place, the creation, where God can be worshipped, where God can be encountered. And so when in the ancient world, when a temple would be built, the last thing that would happen, it would all be prepared, and then the last thing that would happen is that an image of the deity that was going to be worshipped there, an image of the God that would be worshipped there, would be put in the temple, in the holy place of the temple. And equally, in this chapter, in Genesis 1, at the end of the preparation, if you like, of the creation as a place where God should be worshipped, the image of that deity, the image of God, the human beings, is placed in the creation to be responsible and to be at the centre of the creation. That is us. When we start to think that we're the ones who are made in the image of God, that gives us that changes everything. It changes how we see ourselves, that we're valued, that we're worth something. It changes how we treat other people. It changes how we see God. That God is not some man with a big white beard living up in heaven, but he creates humankind in his image, male and female. He created them. That it's not there's not some priority for men over women, but actually God. It's only truly together, male and female, that we reflect the image of God. We are God's representatives on earth. In the ancient world at the time that this was written, the kings were seen as God's representatives on earth, God's image on earth. But actually, this is like a completely radical text at that time that says it's not just the kings, it's all of us. All of us together reflect the image of God. It's not just the men, it's the men and the women. All of us together reflect God's image.